Our friend Carl Icahn, who I think loves plastic, by the way. I don't know him, but I assume he does.
Single plastic bags, maybe he likes those.
Well, they're being banned in a lot of places. Yeah. But he continues his fight at Occidental, does Mr. Icahn, against the company, of course, trying to seat 4 directors. This is going to be a fairly long process. Remember, we talked about it when he first filed, talked about it a number of times, but he did come with another letter. There's going to be more and more. Vicki Hollub, of course, I guess the CEO, in a not necessarily going to be responding to him letter for letter, word for word.
Right.
He keeps going at that Buffett deal. The money that was brought in, that Warren Buffett got, the 8% on a $10 billion investment that allowed them to raise the cash portion enough so that they could actually avoid a shareholder vote, which might have been more difficult for them in terms of completing the Anadarko deal. If Hollub was arrogant enough to negotiate a deal with Buffett of this magnitude, despite her admittedly limited experience in M&A, and the board, says Mr. Icahn, was misguided enough to rubber stamp it, then one might say in Warren's defense that it was almost his fiduciary duty to Berkshire Hathaway to go and accept that deal. And then we pointed out at the time, of course, it was a deal that only Mr. Buffett could get, given his endorsement, so being so important, of such importance. And it was out yesterday.
Well, David, let me ask you: Are they bringing in high level? What does Icahn have high level oil executives?
No,
people?
He doesn't.
No, I mean,
no,
okay, high level drilling. It's high level drilling, frac people.
Hoffmeister, who had at least some experience, I guess, Shell, and then it's another guy who sat on the board of Herbalife.
Herbalife, is that kind of what's the synergy there with Permian?
None that I'm aware of.
So you're telling me that he's not necessarily an oil person.
Jim, are you questioning Carl Icahn's ability to put new members of a board
did he say,
so that the board can be held accountable and the new directors can be added to ensure the operating success and balance sheet management that will be required to achieve board management stated goals for the Anadarko transaction?
Well, there
are you questioning that?
No, but I do want to know, when he says taking the cleaners, is he talking about 1 hour Martinizing? That's what I like. 1 hour Martinizing when you go to the cleaners. I don't like that overnight stuff.
Your suits cleaned at all. You should just get them.
You should just get them pressed. I know, but you can't do that if you're doing Mad Money. This group that he's putting on, I was giving.
He's not putting them on, by the way. He needs 20%
he's not.
To actually get the consensus solicitation. Then he needs 50.1% to win in terms of actually having the 4 directors seated.
I think he raises a lot of good points because that 8% money at a time when you walk outside and someone's throwing 2% money at you. And don't forget, David, one of the things I've learned from you, of all people, is that if oil goes down, Oxy could be in a jam.
We've got to keep a close eye on it.
We do. Halliburton yesterday cut 8% of its workforce. Now, the drilling, they're getting so good at drilling that it's not necessarily analogous, but she paid a pretty penny.
It was a big number. They need to execute. They need to execute quickly to justify to their shareholders, I think, that this was the right move. But we know how aggressive Vicki Hollub was in pursuing it.
Right. She topped Michael Wirth from Chevron?
Chevron, which had a signed deal, of course. That was one of the more interesting transactions that have taken place during the course of this year, without a doubt.